Welcome to Conversations with Dr. Skip Mason,
pastor, preacher, historian, author,
teacher, librarian, archivist, world traveler,
collector, family historian, avid reader, and creator of the popular Vanishing Black Atlanta Facebook page.
But a lot of folks who love history.
Most importantly, he's our dad, who loves his family and who taught us the importance of our history and having important conversations.
Join him now for this episode of Conversations with Dr. Skip.
Well, good Sunday afternoon, my brothers and sisters beloved. Welcome to another Facebook Live conversation celebrating the 150th anniversary of the Christian Methodist Episcopal Church. I'm so delighted that you have joined me today as we celebrate and share in conversation with the family of our beloved 46th Bishop E. Lynn Brown. And I'm so delighted to have members of the Brown family that will come and share with us today momentarily. And we are grateful for all of them being here today. Let me begin by acknowledging our senior bishop, Lawrence Reddick, and Mrs. Wendy Jones Reddick, the First Lady of our church. Let me also acknowledge the chair and co-chair of the Communications, Information and Technology Committee, Bishop James B. Walker, and Mrs. Walker, and my bishop, Bishop Thomas L. Brown Sr., and Dr. Louise Baker Brown. And let me acknowledge and thank always Dr. Teresa Duhart. And let me also thank William Beebe, the great-great-grandson of Bishop Beebe, who has come on to assist me in doing some of my editing and technology. And so for that, I am truly grateful. We had a great show last week, wonderful conversation with the Cummins family and the world premiere of the wonderful Old Rapturous Scenes, which many of you have seen by now. Now, before we begin, I want you to take a moment to please host a watch party. It's very simple to do. Just hit the share button and host it. Share this with others as we invite others to our conversations with some of our wonderful Episcopal leaders and their family. Today is very special as we share with the family of our beloved Bishop E. Lynn Brown, Edward Lynn Brown. Such a wonderful man, father, husband, grandfather, bishop. I can hear that very hearty laugh, and one who had the most commanding use of the English language. And if you don't believe me, I got something to share with you in just a moment. So it is my joy and my delight now to bring up members of the Brown family who are going to be sharing with us. And let's see, we have Brother Kyrie, Alonzo, and we have his daughter, Sharonda, and we have his daughter-in-law, Cherie, and then we have grandson, Stephen, and Mrs. Gladys Brown. We have the entire Brown. I think maybe someone may be listening to that. I think he may be. But hello, Brown family. Welcome.
Hi.
So glad to have you, Mrs. Gladys Brown. Good. It's so good to see you. And Brother Stevens, thank you, my friend, for helping to coordinate and share pictures and making sure that your grandmother was connected to this platform. And so what we want to do today is just to have a conversation about Bishop Brown. And Mrs. Brown, can you tell us a little bit about your husband in terms of where he grew up and his brothers and sisters and parents? Would you, and all of you feel free to chime in, but I thought that I would start with her. Would you please share a little bit about Bishop Brown's early childhood and growing up in Tennessee?
Okay, I don't know if I can go back that far. I met him in Atlanta on Clark. Now it's Clark Atlanta University's campus.
Yes.
And yes, and he was at IGC and I was at Clark Atlanta U. And that's where I met him. And I ran up to him, thought he was someone else, because the alphas were coming off of line. And I went up. We always would go out and greet them and hug them and congratulate them. And so I went out and I hugged him. And he told me, he said, "Hey, wait a minute, come back here." And that's how we met. And he asked me to go to church the next day. And of course, I was obedient. I went to church with him. And that's how we met.
That's how you all met.
Yes. I met his brothers after we had married. I don't know too much about his early childhood, but I know he was one spoiled brat. His mother spoiled him. You could not say anything about her youngest child. If you wanted a fight, you just say something about Edward Brown, and we would do it to be, I guess, to be naughty, to get her angry and upset.
Right.
But and then I met his brothers, and he was the baby of the family, so he was all rotten by all of them and by all his cousins and all of that. They all spoiled him.
Wow. That is
so that's how we met. Yeah.
That's how you all met. So he was at ITC and you were at Clark Atlanta University.
I would say Clark. Yes, Clark Atlanta U.
That's right.
Well, and of course, when I met him, he was engaged to someone. I said, when I met him, he was engaged to someone.
Well, obviously, Mrs. Brown, that engagement didn't last very long.
No, it did. It did.
That is a beautiful, beautiful story. And so were you all married in Atlanta or Tennessee? Now, where's home for you?
Home for me in a little town called Pelham, Georgia. I'm from hardest country. Get up, picking, shaking country. I'm down that way. A little town called Pelham, Georgia. So that's where we married.
That's where you married. In your home.
And our home church was the Baptist church.
Wow, what a beautiful story. And so after you all were married, you know, he was a minister. Did you move to Tennessee? Just kind of walk us through what happened after you all were married and where did you live? And then when did you start having your children?
Okay. After we married, the night after our wedding, we got a car and drove from Georgia to Milan, Tennessee, because he was finishing the year out for a minister there who had gotten sick. And so he was there carrying on for them. And so he was making $22 a week.
Oh, my goodness.
And he would give half of that to the minister who was ill.
Mm-hmm.
And so we stayed in Milan. I grew up there because I was young when I married him. I told him he robbed a cradle, and he tells me all the time, no, the cradle robbed me. But we stayed there until the next annual conference, and then we went to Memphis, Tennessee.
I see.
And he was assigned to Greenwood CME Church.
Oh, right. Historic Greenwood. Right.
Yeah.
Would you have ever imagined? Would you have ever imagined that you would be a preacher's wife?
My mom always told me I was going to marry a preacher.
She did.
Yes. I said, you don't know what you're talking about. But she had to do it. So that's what happened. We moved to Milan. Then that was, we were at Greenwood. And then that's when the civil rights was getting started with Martin Luther
Mhm.
King. He was an activist. So he went down in the Delta. The Delta is Mississippi.
Yes.
And there he was confronted with everything you could imagine. I didn't know if I had a husband from one week to another.
I can imagine. I saw this picture Stephen sent me, and this is Dr. King and Ralph Abernathy, Dr. Abernathy, and I see Bishop in the back on the left-hand side. Do you know
Yes,
where was this picture taken? Do you know by any chance?
Mason Temple here in Memphis, Tennessee.
Yes, Mason
Uh-huh.
Temple. That's right. In
Yes.
fact, that's where Dr. King did his last speech before
Last
he
speech.
died. That's right.
Yes, and my husband was there.
Oh my goodness. That is such a wonderful footnote in history. I did not know that. My goodness, that is just an incredible footnote to have. Let me bring Kyrie back up. So let's talk about your children and Sister Sharonda, you chime in about your childhood, you and your brother growing up in the Browns household. What was that like for you? And you need to unmute your mic, Sharonda. All right.
Okay. It was lively. I mean, for those who know Dad, he was kind of boisterous and loud and full of life. So that was basically the household. And for those of you who know Victor, he was not a quiet person either. So I think as far as the family, the quiet spot fell to me. I was, a little bit more of a reader. So I was always hiding under things or behind things or just trying to go unnoticed as I read, and I let them shine as they should have. So it was a lot of fun. I mean, it was a lot of love. I always knew that I probably could get away with anything. I do feel like I used to tease Dad. He was blessed that I wasn't the type to try. But he rarely said no. I really can't think of that many times that he ever did. Mom was good at that. She was the no person.
Was she the no person, huh?
Yeah, she was the no person, and Dad was the don't tell your mom person. So we had it was a lot of fun, So it was challenging though, because Dad never met a person who wasn't a friend, so
Right.
we were rarely alone. It was endless with, this is your cousin, and I'm like confused. I'm like, are they really? I don't know. I mean, to this day, I don't know who's my cousin and who isn't, who's my aunt or who isn't, because there are all these aunts and uncles and cousins and endless family, anybody you met, and they were there. I mean, at times people lived with us, or there was just open door policy, so you get used to it.
Yeah, I can imagine. So I tell you, well, we have a lot of folks watching, and I always stop to acknowledge whenever Bishop is watching. And Bishop Paul Stewart and Mrs. Stewart says blessings to the Brown family. So if y'all want to wave at them, they can see you.
Hi, Stewart family.
And we're also so delighted to have Mrs. Lady Clary Flake Cunningham watching as well. And hello, Mrs. Brown and family. Always delighted to have her on as well. So as we move through here, occasionally I'll be stopping to share. Tell us about your brother. And of course, ultimately he became a minister as well. But what talk about Victor and family, chime in by all means. And if you're muted, unmute yourselves. And if I've muted you, I'll take the mute off. Amen.
Well, growing up with Victor was fantastic. I mean, he's older than me.
Okay.
So I had a true big brother, and he acted like it. He was extremely protective, which was very comforting. And I didn't just get Victor, I got Victor and all of Victor's friends. So
Right.
that was, joyous. And few little things that would happen, I knew Victor and his crew. And I would tell people, I was like, don't let me tell my brother. So because he was like, wait, what happened? So it was really nice. It was really nice. And I loved our conversations, and, given that he was 6 years older, he was able to guide me through, being a child of dad and mom. So that was great. He definitely protected me and slid me through a lot of things.
Wow, that's great. That is great. So, what was it like for the two of you being PKs, preacher's kids, and Mrs. Brown, you chime in as well. How did I need to mute somebody, getting a little background noise. But how was it being a preacher's wife and preacher's kids? Were there times where you didn't feel like going to another program at the church, or going to another event? What was that like for you, Mrs. Brown and Sharonda?
Well, growing up with some of the young people, especially when we were in Greenwood, I was not too much older than them. I was a young preacher wife, trying to make it, and then of course the older ones take their hands and they would guide me and tell me, but sometimes I couldn't be like, hey, I would tell them how I felt.
Would you?
So they do. It's bad. It's
So
Victor was Greenwood, Sharonda Mount Pisgah, baby.
Oh, she's a Mount Pisgah,
so
baby.
no, they particular church or from this particular church. Yeah. And so they guided me. I had minister spouses who took me under their wings. One was Miss Eula Cunningham, that late Bishop Cunningham's mother. She took me under her wings and she said, yes, you're going to do this and you're going to do that and all of that. So they guided me along the way, and that helped to shape me and mold me. And as far as the kids are concerned, I always had so many children. I don't care where we went.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them, we don't know when we got them. We don't know when they left us, because we would talk about it, and but we end up, I've had some to stay with us 6 months. We had everybody. Open doors almost.
Wow.
Yeah, they're coming. They didn't have a place to stay. Brown would say, hey, it's a bed back there. And I just can go through the list of people. One you all may know is Jimmy Washington.
Yes, we know Jimmy.
Yeah, he would argue with my husband all night long. And he lived in Riverside, California, and we were in LA. And it would be morning. He said, I got to go home. But I said, you're not going anywhere. And he would have it was his oldest child. She was a baby then. And he said, you're not taking that baby on nobody's highway. Go back there and get in that bed. Michelle know where you are. She's not going to say anything. And so, and then I had Marilyn Batchelor. Some may remember her. And she got locked out my house because she stayed with us. Because my husband said, you're not getting ready to do that. Go back. We got a spare bedroom. Go on, get in that bed and bring your things over here. And she was a metropolitan. And so she was in grad school. And we had my husband loved pets. I had to have dogs.
Mm-hmm.
And until I got tired of training every dog. And so we got locked out the house one day, and we were out of town. She said, I got locked out. I said, well, what did you do? I said, go to Reverend Hashaway. He was a presiding elder that time. I said, he knows to get in the house. He got a key and all like that. So she went on. I said, well, what did you do with my dog? His name was Midget, because he was a Doberman Pinscher, but he was a miniature. So I said, what did you do with Midget? She said, he went to school with me. I say, went to school. What did the instructor say? He just finished his lecture and all the kids were playing with him in grade school. And he sat up and looked at everybody like they were crazy. And so he went to school with her that day. So, and she stayed with us almost a year.
Mm-hmm.
So I've had them to stay from, one girl stayed with me since I've been 6 months.
Wow.
So we've had all children. Some call me mom, some call me Gigi. And so
Yeah,
that's how it is.
that's
So
how
we've
it
had,
is.
yeah.
That is something. Well, Cherie Brown, let's bring you in and the grandchildren. When did you become a part of the family? And what are your memories of your father-in-law?
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for the opportunity to share wonderful memories of my dad. We do not believe in in-laws.
Yeah.
He was my dad, and it's great to share wonderful memories with everyone, with the family. I came into the family, I would say, about 1987, 88. During that time.
Mm-hmm.
I met my husband, Victor, at church at Curry Temple. He was preaching for a young adult day, and I met him there, and, the relationship grew. One thing that I can tell you about my dad is that he was truly a Christian man. He was truly, in the physical image, a little Jesus.
Mm.
He was very kind, very loving. He was very connected to the needs and the emotional stability of individuals. He was very sympathetic. He always believed in second chances. He was definitely for the underdog. He saw the greatness in people. That's what he taught me, to look at the good in individuals. God created all of us. So there's some good in each of us, and we
Yes.
just need to pull out that good in each of us. So I saw Dad, as you would say, in season, out of season, around the seasons, when he was in the pulpit, when he was at home, traveling. This man kept his Christian walk the same,
Mm-hmm.
not divert from it. He was always little Jesus, always wanting to help someone. And he really helped me in developing my Christian walk.
Mm-hmm.
I saw in him what a true Christian really, really looks like.
Yes.
Wonderful, wonderful memories. Of course, his vocabulary, I can't even begin to tackle not one word that he would use, all the adjectives that he would use to describe my mom and other loved ones that he loved. So he was definitely a great orator. He was definitely way before his time. He was partly genius, I think. He allowed the Holy Spirit to drape him, like a blanket,
Mm-hmm.
and always in tune with the Holy Spirit as he moved forward to do what God will have him to do. So, wow. Wonderful dad. In my later teenage years growing up, my dad was absent in my life.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that Dad told me, he said, "I'm your dad now. You don't have to worry about that." So that was very powerful, and it has always stayed with me. So
wow, that's powerful. I want to pause for a second because you talked about that vocabulary of his and the command of the English language. I want you all to watch this for a second.
With me is the Bishop Elin Brown from the Christian Methodist Church, and I'd like him just to say a word about the value of an ecumenical thrust and the value of the Black church in relationship to this effort. Bishop Brown.
Thank you, Bishop Hall, and also thank you, Mr. Burrell. Both of you have worked diligently and indefatigably for this cause. I represent Bishop Lawrence L. Reddick as well as myself, but Bishop Reddick is the bishop of the First Episcopal District of the Christian Methodist Episcopal Church, including the states of Arkansas and Tennessee. A lot of the persons are members of the organization, but he could not be here. But I think you remember when Victor Hugo said, "Nothing is so powerful as an idea whose time has come to be born." The time for the African American church and anybody else who's a member of a church, the time has come for us to get behind the Black Farmers and Agriculturalists Association so that we can subsume this gross injustice that has been done. We want them to go back to Pittsford 1 because Pittsford 2 follows the continuum of unjustness, follows the continuum of unfairness, and therefore we are going to get behind the Black farmers, agriculturalists, and I'm going to be honest with you. We're going to let President Obama know. Although he's a good president, but we're going to let him know that we will not tolerate Pittsford 2. Those persons who file late, well, we're not against anybody. But we want them to go back to the original intent of Pittsford 1. Now, we hope that this will happen. But if it won't, we will work diligently and indefatigably, and we will bury the opposition so deep they will take a billion pound of bacon powder to raise it from the dead. Therefore, we have all joined together, and we want to make sure that this is done.
That was Bishop Elin Brown. My goodness. What a command. Let's see, Sharonda. Let me unmute yourself. Yes. That's your dad, huh? That's him.
And the thing that I don't think a lot of people know is he didn't just do that, in a meeting or in a pulpit or on a stage. That's how he was in the house. That's what we grew up with.
That's how he was.
You're just doing something simple like washing dishes, and he's throwing a quote at you, and he's telling you, why it matters in the fabric of the world, and you're kind of like, oh my God.
Wow.
I just want an extra 40 minutes before I have to do the dishes.
I know. Well, let me pause for a second because I'm so delighted that our senior bishop and our first lady, Bishop Lawrence Reddick and Mrs. Wendy Jones Reddick, they say hello to the Browns.
Hello. Tell them hello.
They can see you. All right. It's always glad to have them watching and others as well. Let's hear from the grandsons now for a moment. They've been so patient and engaging, and they're practicing safety measures. They have masks on wherever they are. But Stephen, and so who's the oldest grandson? Let's ask that. Is that you, Kyrie? Okay, unmute yourself and tell us what you remember most about your granddad.
I remember quite a bit. I had a very, very strong relationship with my grandfather. So he was a very strong man. He always practices. He was very pro-black. Always practices his blackness, and always encouraged us to be as strong as we could and never be afraid of how black we were, and always suggested that we studied hard and we can accomplish anything if we worked hard enough.
Yes, good. Alonzo, what do you remember? Tell us your memories of your granddad.
Well, my memories of my grandfather was interesting. He was a man of God. Not only that, but he was a devoted father, husband, and grandfather as well. So he just really was awesome to be around. I miss him and I love him dearly. He really inspired me to become a better man. just actually being a black man in this world, because he will always say, you know, keep your head up and keep God first, and He will see you through. And I believe that wholeheartedly, because I keep that with me all day, every day. So I just remember a lot of positive things about him, really.
Did he share advice to you?
Yes, he did. The advice was, well, he shared many advices with me, but the one that stuck out to me was I have to have something under my belt, meaning a degree or a trade, something that will take me forward in life to become successful. So
That's great advice. Stephen,
Yeah,
what are your memories of your grandfather?
he is one of the smartest people I ever met. He really is. And he is a great speaker. He always taught me. He always pushed new vocabulary on me since I was a little kid, really strengthening my vocabulary. And he really exposed me to a lot of new people and a lot of connections. Like I, I was here the past 2 summers, and he got me some internships. And he would always take me up to the church, like to churches, like 2-3 times a week. And I'm like, oh, I gotta go to church again. I'm like, I'm tired of this. going every other day. But I'm glad he did it because I made a lot of connections. I met a lot of great people. I met the governor of Tennessee. I met the mayor. And he's just a great person. I really miss him.
Well, and he knew everybody. Let me share a few pictures with you all of some of these. He was famous, and he's with famous folks. Here they are with your Bishop and Mrs. Brown with Esther Roll. Mrs. Brown, do you remember where was this?
That was in LA.
That was in LA. Okay.
Yes. It was at a function in LA.
In LA, and here you all are with Congresswoman Maxine Waters.
Yes, we met her. She was in wherever we were. We were there, and she knew him because he had worked with her on some of the things in Los Angeles.
Yes.
And so I think that's where that was. Because I would go for Maxine at different other functions or in another, like in Washington, So he was going to get around and know everyone.
Of course he was. Here he is with Mandela, yes. Do you remember this time when he met Mandela?
Yes, because we were in Kentucky at a conference, and he had to go back to LA. Mandela was in LA, and he had to go back and present a check to Mandela from the CME Church.
I recall. In fact, this is a picture from and that's Mayor Bradley, I believe, with them.
Yes.
Yes, this was on the cover of the Christian Index as well. And let's see, here we have Bishop Brown with President Clinton at some.
Yes, he had pictures. I just couldn't send them all, but every president, he was with Carter. He was with, he had pictures with all of the presidents.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure of that. Well, let's talk about for a few minutes, and all of you all can chime in. Those of you who recall, let's talk about when he decided. How did he decide to run for bishop or offer himself? Mrs. Brown, did he come to you and tell you he was running for bishop, or were there people pushing him to run? How did that happen? And Sharonda, you can chime in as well.
I know he would go to all of the conferences, and then he had friends and ministers and people who were encouraging him to run, and members of his church, especially from Greenwood and from Mount Pisgah, to encourage him to run or when you're going to run and all that. I remember that. going to the different annual conferences when he gave himself it, because he ran once before, but he knew he was putting himself, I guess, out there, testing the waters and everything. So he knew he wasn't going to win and all. But on the next go round that he did, and he had a lot of support too from church members, friends, and all. Yeah.
And he I'll put that back up. But he was elected in 1986, along with the 47th Bishop Richard O. Bass and Claude. Dr. Claude Bass is watching, and he shared this comment, and he sends his love to you all as well.
Okay. We sent ours back too.
Absolutely. Sharonda, do you remember your dad running? You remember that time? And what was it like when you all found out that he had won? Were you in Birmingham at the time?
Yes, I was. Yeah, we were there. And, we were just happy for him, and we were happy for, all of his supporters. They were, everybody was joyous. I'm sure you've been to the conventions and you've seen it. So it's always a celebration. And so we were happy. We were happy the first time, even though he didn't win, and as Mom said, he expected it, but he said, as he sat Victor and I down and said, you have to try things in life, and we're going to try this. The odds are slim, but we're going to go for it. And if it doesn't work, then we go for it again. And so, we all had I think our t-shirt said brown sugar, because as everybody knows, he kisses everybody. So, we were ready, even though we were quite young. And I mean, we enjoyed it, but we always enjoyed the conventions and the camaraderie. The great thing about the CME church is the family, and no matter where you are, you always feel like there's family. That's the joy of a connected church. So
right.
So that's always fun. So I think we were probably removed, at least I was. Victor might have been a little bit more involved because he usually was, but I was very much removed from the politics of it all.
Okay.
Yeah. But so all I have are the good feelings and the happiness,
Sure.
or for the first time around, didn't work this time, but we're going for it next time. So, that's my perspective.
Yes. I tell you, I've heard from so many of his preachers that because after he was elevated to the episcopacy, he was assigned to the 9th Episcopal District. And there are a lot of people who have shared this week their wonderful memories and comments about Bishop Brown. And so again, where did this ebullient personality come from? I mean, he just embraced and loved on everybody. This is one of my cherished photographs of us. I think at the pastors' conference with Bishop Gilmore. But he always had something pleasant to say, and every now and then it might be a little something naughty to say as well. He would whisper something in your ear, and just cause you to chuckle. And whatever mood you may have been in, Bishop Brown had a knack for just breaking it, And I think that's a gift.
I think Cherie said it best when she said he always looked for the good in people. I mean, it's just what he did. And there were times that he would constantly remind, me or the rest of us of that, because, things happen in church, or just because they're just, people in general, and you run across people and then you're like, wow, that wasn't so nice. And then Dad's like, oh, but he's always seeing the other side. He's very good at that.
Right.
And then he reminds you, you just don't know what people are going through in life.
That's
and
true.
So you have to look for that. He's like, there's good in everybody. God is there in everybody. So he believed it, so he lived it, and I think that kept him happy. I mean, he had a smile that wouldn't quit, and even when I was really angry with him as just a daughter, as just a child, he was my
Sure.
dad, and I'm mad for some reason, he would give me that smile, and I'm like, oh no, don't do that, because that smile just breaks it all down. You're like, I really want to pout right now, but I can't,
Right.
because yeah, he was really joyous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mrs. Brown, he had a wonderful sense of humor, would you say?
Oh yes, he had that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had that sense of humor. And if you're mad with him, you're gonna just go away, And like my daughter said, I want to stay mad. I'm not ready to.
Right.
But I would always say, why are you doing this and all? He's going to always give you the other side.
Yeah.
Say, yes, but, but yeah, he had that. And I guess he got that from his mother.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
His
think so.
mother could always flash a smile. And that was her baby.
Mm-hmm.
And you couldn't say anything wrong about it.
Nothing bad about it, huh?
But his sense of humor was really great. My son Sean couldn't be here today, but
Okay.
his sense of humor was really, as Sean said, got him through Catholic school, because he went to Catholic school for high school. And
Okay.
as we all know, you have to take 4 years of religion, and taking religion at a Catholic school is quite different, especially when you've been raised in the CME church. And
Right.
so that was their thing. He would come home from class, and I'm like, hey, what happened? He's like, I gotta call Papa. Called him Papa, and he called him. He's like, do you know what my teacher said today? And so and then you would just hear Dad laughing through the phone, and he was like, okay, you go back and you say to her. And it was this whole thing that they had, and it was, I was a little bit jealous of that they got to have this unique relationship centered around Dad's, of course, knowledge of theology and his ability to get Sean to go back and debate with his Catholic religious teacher. It was really fun. I was like, wow, why didn't I get to do that? So,
Oh, wow.
but it was really funny. Like, and Sean would say, oh no, I said it. And the whole class laughed, and even she had to concede. And, it was great.
Wow, I tell you. Do you all remember a humorous moment? I mean, and Bishop Brown was the king of one-liners, when he would get up and if he had to stir up the crowd. Do you remember something funny that he might stand up and say?
Not necessarily stand up and say, not off the top of my head, but I do remember like one thing he used to do when he would pick me and AJ up from school, so to speak. And when kids go to school, after they get out of school, they usually fall asleep in the car sometimes. So, but you couldn't do that in the car with my grandfather. So me and AJ would fall asleep. My grandfather would kind of swerve the car to make our heads lightly hit the window to wake us up. And then he'll just act like nothing happened, and then try to start a conversation out of nowhere. Yeah, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I remember in church, babies would cry, and people would always try to shush the baby. And Dad would say, oh no, I love to hear the sound of a crying baby. That's the voice of God letting us know we've been here too long. It was really funny. And it used to crack me up, and I used to always want a baby to cry because Dad would try to move things on. I'd be like, can you like get that baby to cry right there?
I love it. I mean,
also remember, if you ever got the opportunity to go to dinner with him, now like my grandma Nina, she don't mess around when it comes to dinner, But my grandfather, he'll like try to take the little papers that be on the straws. He'll take them and he'll ball it up. He'll throw it at you and then look the other way. But, a couple of times he did that to Nina. And like I said, my grandma don't mess around when it comes to dinner. But it was a couple of times when he got to my grandma, and she actually balled up a piece of paper and threw it at his face. Like, all right, grandma.
That is something else. I tell you. Cherie, you still with us? I know you can't see us, but you can still hear us.
Yes, I can.
Good. Any just a wonderful personality. You've already kind of alluded that. Is there anything that just sort of stands out to you? And that voice was unique as well.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, listening to the family, and I'm thinking of a lot of things that they're saying. But Dad always lived on the edge. Okay. When we were in Tulsa, Oklahoma, snowing, and he would just, get in the car and just drive it as if there was no snow on the ground and go in circles. And we're like, what is going on? So he always like living on the edge, driving. Oh boy, just put on your seatbelt because you're definitely going for a ride, okay?
Yeah.
So he was. I can say this is that many of us go through life thinking that next time I'll do it this way or next time I'll do it that way.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that I discovered about Dad is that he realized that this is no dress rehearsal. It is what it is.
Yeah.
So he lived his life to the fullest every day. Every day he woke up energized, ready to go. Just, he was just motivated with the Lord, and God allowed him to become the 42nd bishop. So that office of the episcopacy, he really, really, really relished it, and he really respected it. And he wanted to do all the good that he could do, that God had poured in him to do in his lifetime. So he didn't sit around being lazy or anything like that. He was always getting up, and he would always point at it. When he said, his last breath, it is well with my soul. It was definitely well with his soul because he lived each day to the fullest.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
No dress rehearsal. We need to live each day to the fullest. We need to.
Yes. Let's watch this for a quick second, please. I want to share this quick clip with you.
Thank you, my brothers and sisters. Once again, we welcome you to our March Pastor's Corner. This is Pastor Williams, again, at Russell Memorial, CME Church. I am just excited, and so is Reverend John Cradle, one of the associates at this wonderful church. We're just excited, as I often say all the time, peacock happy and elephant proud, to have the 46th bishop of the Christian Methodist Episcopal Church in the person of the Right Reverend E. Lynn Brown, who preached for us and just tore the place up today with a sermon saying, losing Jesus. And we don't want to lose Jesus Christ. What a word from the man of God. Ladies and gentlemen, Bishop Brown.
Thank you very much, Dr. Wayne Williams, and certainly to your associate and other associates who may not be here. It is indeed a pleasure as well as an immense opportunity for me to have been invited here by Dr. Wayne Williams and Bishop Gilmore to worship at this place. Dr. Wayne Williams has done a yeoman's job here. I love dynamic, marvelous, outstanding preaching and teaching ministry. This is what he has done, and it is manifesting itself throughout Christendom. His fame is going out throughout Christendom. May God bless you, Dr. Williams, and may you continue to give birth to potentials and individuals that seemed at first powerless to be born. And remember that who perfects the shipwreck of others also save themselves from the dangers of the storm. Thank you, Dr. Williams.
And thank you. And this is our Pastor's Corner for March 2014.
Beautiful. And I know Reverend Dr. Wayne Williams is watching. Shout out to him as well. So many wonderful friends of yours, Hoyt family, Bishop Hoyt's family, and Mrs. Elizabeth Coleman, and Reverend Dr. Darrell Coleman, and Becky Graves of Thomas, and Dr. Teresa Duhart, and again, Doria Harder. All of these wonderful people are watching, sharing their wonderful comments, their love and thoughts to you all. And certainly the CME Church sorely misses Bishop Brown, as I'm sure you all do. Just such a wonderful, commanding, a figure in our church and in our church history. So we're about to approach our 150th year come the second weekend of December. And that will mark the 150th year celebration. And so since March, I've had the opportunity to interview and share with the families. Alonzo, you may need to turn your camera on so that we can see you. But I've had the opportunity to share, and I'm just delighted to have this opportunity to share with all of you. And when I called your mother, Mrs. Gladys Brown, and I've known her and her family, the Hatleys, as well, very close to them. And she said to me, "Well, I was wondering when you were gonna call me," and I. And I said, "Miss Brown, you know I love you and Bishop Brown. You know I was gonna call you and gather the family up so we could spend some time together and to share these few moments." So the last thing I want to mention, I want to ask, and hello to other bishops that may be watching. I'm gonna shout out my bishop just in case. Sometimes he watches on a different channel. Bishop Thomas Brown and Dr. Louise Baker Brown and Bishop Lacey watches sometimes on a different channel, and so I'm not able to see all of the folks that are watching. And so let me just shout out again to all of the bishops who may be watching that I may not be able to see or recognize at that time, at this particular time. But as we prepare to close out, what should we remember Bishop Brown for? There will be a generation of preachers primarily and lay who will not know and would not have had the experience of being in Bishop Brown's presence, because you only had to be in his presence for a short time to know that he did not meet any strangers, one, and that he was always embracing. So I just want you all to just tell us, what should we remember Bishop Brown for during this season? And unmute yourselves, those of you who are muted.
Well, I mean, one thing that I would mention would be his leadership. He was a very strong leader, and he knew how to command. He knew how to command. He knew how to command an army, and that's just something that I think should be taken away from a younger generation, especially nowadays. You know, with young black men not necessarily having the leadership that we need. You know, because it's a lot of things going around in today's society that my grandfather would probably be disgusted with. You know, so I feel like in his passing, you know, the best way to honor him is to be, you know, young black leaders collectively.
Yeah.
Like that's the best way for the next generation to honor him. We come in and we help clean up the mess that he was cleaning up, that he was fighting for all those years. You know, just because he's gone, just because Dr. King is gone, doesn't mean that the fight is over.
I agree, and I think Bishop Brown would have been fully engaged in this moment in time that we're living in with Black Lives Matter and all of the other challenges that we have. I can see him pushing young men and young women, you know, to rise to the occasion and to encourage him. Anyone, Stephen, what should we remember your grandfather for?
One thing he would always say is, "I'm gonna be great," and he would hold his fist up in the air. That's what he would always tell all the grandchildren, even just other children. Like, we'll be in a restaurant, he'll go up to a kid, he'll say, "I'm gonna be great. I want to hear you say it," and then I'll be kind of embarrassed, but like, "I'm gonna be great. Let me hear you say it," and the kid will say it. Like, he really cared about everybody.
Yeah. Sister Cherie.
Yes.
What can we remember your dad and love for?
Dad was in the community. He was a community organizer, community worker. However, it started with the church. It started in the church. So we need to bring it back to the church. We've gotten away from uh, the church. And the church is basically the pulse where meetings would take place. I saw him when we were in California at Phillips Temple. Bishop Stewart, if he's listening, he knows this very well. Governor, I think his name is Gary Davis, was running for office, and he brought him to our annual conference. And Dad told him up front, if we support you, what are you going to do for my people? So he was that kind of man that demanded, something in exchange. If I'm with you, then you're definitely going to help me. So it started in the church. The preachers, we have to put on our foot shoes again. We've become too relaxed. He put on your foot shoes again and hit the pavement. And that's what he was about. He was an ecumenical man, and the denomination was not a barrier for him. He crossed all denominations because we were all Christians together. So that's the type of man that he was, and we need to bring it back to him, the church. It starts in the church. We organize in the church, we plan in the church, and we move out from the church. So that was that.
Excellent. Sister Sharonda, and then Miss Gladys, we'll let you have the last word. Sister Sharonda, what should we remember your dad for?
I think what outside of, being a godly person, I think it's important to remember that Dad was a person of the people. And he truly meant that. There was a no judgment zone with him, and he was all about inclusion. And it would really do the world good if we could all walk that walk, because he was about supporting, listening, believing, motivating, and encouraging people of all ages. And it was about respect and lifting them up and helping them find their spirituality so that they could walk their same path. As he would tell us, follow the grain of your own wood, which is a quote by Howard Thurman. So Sean uses that quote a lot because it's important to follow your path and find your way, and we can all walk a different walk, but have a united voice. And I think that's important. And then also never forgetting, once again, I'll go back to Howard Thurman, is there's a strength beyond my strength that gives strength to my strength. We can overcome anything if we all believe. There's always something behind us, pushing us forward, helping us stay strong. Dad, I mean, he did not pretend. He honestly believed that, and he taught it to us. He taught it to my children, and that's the walk they're walking. And if we all did that, look how great society would be.
Yes, indeed. Alonzo, I didn't get to you before I get to your grandmother. What should we remember your grandfather for? Are you muted? Hold on just a second. Can we hear you? All right. Go ahead, Alonzo.
Well, I can remember my grandfather as being being a man of God, first of all. Second of all, very, very inspirational, intelligent. I'm really lost for words, really, because words can't really express how he was as a man. To be quite honest with you, man, he really is the best man I ever met in my life.
Wow.
To be quite honest with you, and I really admire my grandfather tremendously.
Has anyone ever told you that you sort of favor your grandfather?
Yeah, I get that all the time, and I take that as a compliment. So
yeah, a young Elan Brown, Mrs. Gladys Brown, you get the last word. What should we remember your beloved husband for? And before we do that,
right.
Mrs. Elizabeth Immorte is watching all the way from Nigeria.
Wow.
And I'll have the opportunity to share with the Immortes on next week. But I'm so glad that she is watching as well. But Mrs. Brown, tell us, you get the last word on what we should remember your husband for.
For being the jovial person that he was. He loved to help people. He believed in people. He would find the good in everybody, no matter what other people thought. Even with his ministers he selected, that came with him, I would wonder, why is he doing this and all? He said, there's good in everyone. There's some good in everyone, and he's going to try, if he can, to change that person. So he was going to help everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Even the lazy person, the happy person, he's going to look for the good in everyone. And he's going to instill in you that you can do this, you can do that, and try to make you see the good in yourself too. So that's what he's just like his mother there. She's going to see the good in everyone.
In everyone. Well,
yes.
I think that best sums him up. If I could borrow a phrase from him right now, let's give him a hand. Give him a hand. And then I know he would say, Skip, but that's not the rest of it. Then Bishop Brown would have me to say, now give me a hand.
Yeah.
Good to see Sister Joan Gilmore Oglesby, and the Gilmores may be watching, but they are faithful regulars, and
you just left.
have so many wonderful people watching. To the Brown family, thank you so much for spending this time with me today. And I know that you missed him. We miss him tremendously, but we thank God for his memories, and the legacy lives on inside of you. And you continue to be all that Bishop Brown was and is to our church and to all who he poured into. So I appreciate you. Stephen, thank you, my friend. I tell you, he has just really helped his grandmother in terms of sharing images and making sure that she's on. So Sister Cherie, Sister Sharonda, Brother Kyrie, Brother Alonzo, Brother Steve, God bless you all. And thank you so much for joining me today. And God bless you, and look forward to seeing you again soon. Before we say goodbye next Sunday, good Lord willing, I will have the opportunity to share with the family of Bishop Umorte, all the way from Nigeria. Amen. We're trying to work this thing out. Isn't that right, Sister Elizabeth? But we're going to do our best. So look forward to an announcement from the wonderful Dr. Teresa Duhart. But thank you so much for another Facebook Live conversation with one of our Bishop's family as we celebrate our 150th anniversary of our church. May God bless you and may God keep you all. And remember, I love you. God loves you. And do matter. Take care.